Yo, what is going on, my people? So today we have a very special video. Today we will be going over SMTs and how I use them to have sniper precise entries. So we're going to be going over what are SMTs. We're going to be finding SMTs ourselves, both bullish and bearish, and then I'm going to give you guys a tiny bit of homework. I know y'all boys don't like doing homework already, but this is good homework. It's practice for you guys to, find your own SMTs and hopefully be on your way to profiting. So we're gonna jump right to it, and I'll see you boys on the inside. What's going on, guys? So welcome to another banger of an info video. So today we will be going over SMTs, how I use them, right? How to spot them, right? Bullish and bearish, and you're gonna spot them yourself. So we will be giving a lot of value today. Today we're going to be going over all of that good stuff. Just be sure to stick around for all the info that you could take, and let's get right to it. So SMTs. So what is an SMT? An SMT is a divergence between assets. So we can write that down, right? Write it down somewhere in your notes. Make sure you have a pen and a notebook ready to go. So SMTs are smart money technique divergence. So what does that mean? It's a divergence between two assets. So there's a difference between two assets. Correlated assets, to be specific. So as we already know, we have the NASDAQ and the ES, right? We have NQES. Those are the two correlated assets. So what I do, right? You can do it however you want, but this is how I do it. I look at NASDAQ all the time, and I use ES to find my SMTs. So let's explain what an SMT is. So that is what an SMT is. Now I'm going to show you what an SMT is. So let's move clearly over here. SMT, right? Let's say on NQ, we're trending higher, right? And then we have if you watch the previous videos, you know what this is. A higher high and a higher high and a higher high. Sorry. And then that's right, NQ up here, NQ. And then on ES, we make a higher high, and then we make a lower high. That is the divergence. This is a bearish SMT. So this little divergence right here is what an SMT is. So how do you be like, yo, Anthony, bro, what do you mean? Well, how do I use this? I got you. So NQ in this scenario is the lagging index. It's lagging. Why? Because we made a higher high when in reality, we want to go lower. You see what I mean? So NQ in this scenario is the lagging index. So when taking a trade, right? Let's say you want to be, I don't know. In my opinion, it doesn't matter which way the SMT. The SMT could be down here, right? It could be like this, and ES is up here, right? This is still an SMT, right? This one's a lagging index. This one shows where we truly want to go, right? But that's not really what we're on right now. So with SMTs, right? How can I use them? So let's say we have a bunch of, sellers right here waiting. Let's actually do this. We have a bunch of sellers right here waiting, right? That is very bad. We have a bunch of sellers right here, right? We just took liquidity. We took out all those sell orders that were being waited, to get filled. And then boom, we enter here with, we enter our shorts right here. And then obviously, this is very broad, but I wouldn't want to show any of the strategies that I use because, I don't want to leak it. That's very confidential to my blueprint students.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Think of it like an indicator or a sign that we're going to start to reverse. So if you see an index lagging, you want to, start, reconsidering, okay, maybe we don't want to keep going higher in this scenario. We might want to start going lower. That's how you can think of it. So let me show you a bullish SMT. So let's say we are, again, make sure you had watched the previous video of, trends and all that stuff. So let's say we're trending lower, right? And then NQ makes a higher low, right? But ES makes a lower low. So it would be like this, lower low, and we make a lower low. All right. Wait, actually, let's add this one. Where's the SMT? I want you to find the SMT. All right. If you said from here to here, you are correct. This is where the SMT lies. So sometimes, the SMT is not going to be directly this close, right? Sometimes the SMT will be, a high from like last week or a high from the day before or Tuesday or whatever it may be. The SMT isn't always going to be right next to each other, but, sometimes it might. So let's go ahead and find real life scenarios with SMTs. So now that we got that out the way, we know it's a divergence between assets. So let's say, on one we make a higher high and the other one we make a higher low. That's a divergence in price, right? So if you notice here, notice how NQ and ES move almost the same, right? We have a random drop off that I don't know why that happened, but for the most part, we almost always move the same, right? So let's find the SMT. I know there was one by market open. Let's actually go to market open. Market open is right here, 9:30 a.m. Let's go to 9:30 on ES. 9:30 right here. Okay. So 9:30 is right here. We can see that on ES, we took this high. We took this high. And then if we come over to NQ, we also took this high. Is there a divergence in price there? No. Good job. So that was good, right? There's no divergence there. But here we go. On NQ, we made a lower low, while on ES, we made a higher low. What does that tell us? It is an indication that we want to move higher. We do not want to go lower here. Plus, if you watch the previous video, again, rejection. Look at this very, very big rejection wick. We obviously don't want to go lower. This is a bullish SMT, right? A divergence between price. You can find these on your own. When price takes out a low, the other one doesn't. SMT. When price takes out a high, the other asset doesn't. That is an SMT. So let's find a bearish SMT now. We made this high, like this little pullback up to here. We made it on both assets. But here comes the tricky part. We had a double SMT. What is that? What do you mean? Right? On NQ, we took the low. On ES, we did not take the low. So what does that tell us? Bullish price action. And what did we do? We came up a little bit. And we came up a little bit. But obviously the overall trend is not bullish. So in this scenario, in this leg, the overall trend is not bullish. So you wouldn't be trading it bullish. So back to the bearish scenario. Bearish scenario, right? We made a high, we made a lower low, and then we made a lower high. While here we made a high, a lower high, and a higher high. Where's the divergence? Right here between these set of candles. That is the divergence. Right here. Let me color grade it so you guys can see it better. That is the divergence. So let's say in the scenario, right? For you ICT bots, we have a fair value gap. I don't teach this, by the way. This is just, for educational purposes. We have a fair value gap with an SMT inside the fair value gap, push lower, right? This is not what I teach. I don't use fair value gaps, just letting you know. But this is an example. Let's say this is for some reason your entry. Boom. Enter shorts, stop at the top of the fair value gap, targeting next low. And you would have printed. So this is why SMTs are so powerful, because not only do they tell you where price wants to move, they tell us on correlation between assets so we can anticipate those moves. So that's that for, bearish SMTs. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to give you guys a tiny bit of homework. I'm going to ask for you guys to, find your own SMTs and find both sets of SMTs. Find 2 for bullish, find 2 bearish. And, if you need more practice, you can always, pop it in free chat in the Discord. You could be like, yo, I need help with SMTs. How can I, spot them? Anybody have any tips? I know SMTs are complicated, but you know, I'll upload a second part to this. So that will wrap it up for today's video. I appreciate you guys watching this SMT video. We will be going over liquidity and taking highs and lows and some extra small stuff. So once again, I appreciate you guys watching, and here's the outro. All right, boys. So that will wrap it up for SMTs. I hope you guys got good value from this. And once again, if you guys want to join a free community full of traders that are aspiring to be great, just like you are, because if you've made it to the end, if you've made it to the end, I could tell that you care, right? If you're watching this, you're very special to me, because not only did you make it to the end, you watched the whole video. So congrats on that. You actually did something. So, if you'd like to join a community full of traders like this, like myself, today I was able to catch, I don't even know how many points that is, but it's like $1,000 on NQ. We have one of our coaches, Darian, here, made 446. We have one of our boys here made 800. We have another student right here made, I think, 400 on that trade. We have Julian making insane amounts of money, just insane. We have another student right here. Boom, we know it's an eval, but we're still printing every day. And then we have another student, which is me, which is 490 on the day. So, and it was a perfect bottom tick. So just to let you know. So if you guys are looking to join a community, with traders just, that want to be as great as you, right? Or you want to be as great as them or whatever, just push each other, motivate each other, feel free to text me on Instagram. Pop it right here. I'll pop up my Instagram right here. And that will wrap it up for today's segment. So I hope you guys got good value from this, and stay tuned for the next video, which we will be talking about liquidity and then taking highs and lows. So I'll catch you on the next one, and stay strong, family. Let's get it.